joined in the studio by Felix Milton. Hello.
Hello.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year to you as well.
It's where's the time gone?
I know it's been a whirlwind of a year, hasn't it?
I know it doesn't seem like that long ago. We were talking about Christmas. Now we're talking about tax returns.
Exactly. I know. I mean, they are quite close in all fairness.
Yes, all too close. All too close. So, tell us a bit about obviously the deadline for our tax returns is coming up, isn't it?
It is. So the 31st of January, if you do a tax return, you need to submit it by then and make sure you've paid any tax you owe by then. Otherwise, HMRC will sort of come down on you and charge you interest on the tax you owe and so on. It's something you need to make sure you get done if you have to do it.
Yeah. Is there a band? Have you got to earn so much before you do that, or is it any earnings that you've accrued throughout the year?
So there are certain qualifications to complete a tax return, and even if you don't actually pay any tax, technically, if you are one of those earners that does a job that requires a tax return, you still have to do one even if you're not paying any tax. So it's just declaration of earnings rather than anything else.
Yeah.
So that would be, say, self-employed individuals who may have, if they had £5,000 or £6,000 a year, they're not going to be paying any tax, but they need to declare that they're not paying any tax to HMRC. Otherwise, HMRC may start to investigate their affairs. So it's just one of those things that you have to do, and if you don't do it, HMRC can come down on you. So make sure you get it done.
Oh yeah, and it's fines and things. They do.
It is, yeah.
Now, can you do it yourself online, or is it better to go and actually speak to somebody like yourself?
It depends on how complex your affairs are. It's a very simple process online. If you've got sort of a simple, you earn this and you know your expenses were that, you can complete a tax return online. Or there are a whole host of things. If you're a company director, for example, you have to do a tax return. You may not have any other earnings apart from your employed earnings at that company, but you still have to declare it to HMRC. So it's a whole host of things, and depending on how complex your earnings are, you'll probably know if you need to sort of see an accountant or someone else to help you do the returns.
Oh, definitely. I think I would always go and see an accountant. I'm not. Fine-wise, so say if somebody did their tax return, and maybe they hadn't done it quite right, will they still get fined, or is there some kind of leeway? Will they get some advice?
There's lenience if they say have submitted it. If it's done in good faith and say later you realise the figure was wrong or something, there's lenience there. It would depend that if you did it and you knew that you were doing it incorrectly on purpose, then that's blatant evasion and HMRC can pursue you with sort of the full extent of the law. But if it's just you've done something genuinely by mistake, you can prove it was by mistake, then HMRC will usually be fine with it and there shouldn't be any fines or anything.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? That is a good thing, at least. And everything else that's going on with Christmas and December, and currently there's a lot of things going on around the world.
There are.
That could affect how our money is working for us. Explain a little bit more about what's going on and how it could affect us.
So, as lots of people will be aware, in Iran and America at the moment, there's ongoing and rising tensions potentially. And whilst that is one way or the other, there are also some immediate impacts that's having on things that's going to affect you and I on a day-to-day basis. So things like the price of oil has actually gone up. Because if there's worries about the oil supply between nations, then really you're going to want to buy your oil, and that pushes demand up, which as such pushes the price up as well. And oil, of course, is used for driving our cars, heating our houses, and that is going to filter through directly to the pumps. The oil market is quite efficient, so that price increase should come through quite quickly. So that's the first impact. And things as well like gold, it's actually at a 7-year high because of the tensions, because in times of uncertainty and worry like this, people flood to the safe assets, and gold obviously is gold. It doesn't change, it is a gold bar. So that's what's happening there. So they are impacts that can affect your money at the moment. And if you've got any investments, the volatility is going to sort of persist now until there is a resolution. Hopefully there is no further escalation. But if there is, then yes, that's likely to have an impact on funds going forward.
Wow. So, you don't think of that when you see these things in the news. You don't think actually, because of that could affect how we are over here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with let me get my words out. With regards oil, I guess they can kind of pretty much say whatever they like. They can charge whatever they like for that.
It's sort of. I mean, it's based on the producers, and if there's a threat. So if you think about, there was the Saudi Aramco plant that was blown up sort of in September last year, and that was a very, very big producer of oil. So if suddenly the demand's still there, but you can't actually make as much oil, then there's a restricted demand, and the basic laws of demand and supply come in. So if the supply is lower and the demand is still there, it should push the price up. So really that's what happens. And if there's a worry with Iran, which is a big oil supplier, and America is a big oil supplier, again, if there's a pipeline issues and so on, with you get into whole foreign policy issues with pipelines and turning the tap on and off, etc., and it can affect globally, really, because oil is so paramount to modern day existence at the moment.
Yeah, and how we all work. Isn't it? It's how we all function, isn't it? Blimey. So if somebody is worried about this, maybe and like I said, it will see the effects of it quite quickly, I guess.
With the oil price, yes, it should filter pretty quickly through because, well, if you think about sort of your petrol station, for example, it buys the oil when it's run out of its tanks, it buys it in again. And of course, that if it's going through it quite quickly, the international oil price is going to have to buy it from that market. That should filter through. So that really should filter through to you and I.
So that could see the price at the pumps increase
go up.
Quite dramatically.
It could do, yes.
Wow. Okay. So we need to firstly stop driving. let's try and save some oil. But it is quite a scary thing, really, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
If somebody's at home and they're sort of maybe a bit concerned about it, have you got any reassuring advice, or is there any advice that you can give them?
So it's important to remember that at the moment they are rising tensions, but there's a lot of diplomatic and political sort of circumstances behind it. And if there is, say, any escalation, then there'd be sort of far greater things to worry about than what, say, your investments are doing at this time.
Yeah.
But hopefully there is no escalation. But we'll have to wait and see in that regard. And unfortunately, you still need to drive your car. You still need to buy things that are made of plastic, for example, unfortunately, at the moment. So therefore, you're going to have to sort of pay the price and get used to it for now. And hopefully it will all normalise in due course.
Well, we can only hope. We can keep everything crossed, surely, for this. So is there anything else going on in the money world that we need to know about at the moment?
Well, there is the upcoming, on a slightly jollier but also less jolly note, there's the upcoming Blue Monday, which is not very nice, but it's better than war. So it's supposedly the most depressing day of the year, and it occurs on the 20th of January this year. So it's supposedly the time where all the debt sets in after Christmas and you realise you've massively overspent. So it's the most people will get upset and realise that they've made huge mistakes previously. So really, whilst that's it's sort of a gloomy note, it's less gloomy than war. So really, people could look into their finances now and start thinking, how much did I spend over Christmas? And get ahead of the game. If you've got 2 weeks on yourself to repay those debts, it's going to be more positive. So start thinking now, have you overspent? And again, put money aside now for next Christmas. So if you are in a bad position this year, you won't be in one next year because you forward planned it. So that's all I'd recommend there.
And that's what we were talking about at Christmas, wasn't it? It's about looking, and you said exactly that. After Christmas, have a look at how much you spent, break it down and put it away monthly. Now, I've got to say, we've started doing it at home. And
excellent.
People actually heard that and saw the video online, and I was getting messages saying, what a great idea. And it does help, because you don't notice maybe £10 a month or £5 a month, or whatever it is that you can just pop aside so that it makes you, just so you've got a little comfort blanket, I guess, isn't
exactly.
it? Exactly.
And then at Christmas you get there and you go, wow, I've got all this money I saved up. And by that point you've got used to saving that money. So year on year it's much easier to just carry on saving because you've got used to it and adjusted your budget accordingly.
Exactly.
Any long-term savings plan, it's always harder to absorb the shock at first, but once you get used to it, it's much easier because that is factored into your budget. So that's what I'd recommend anyone does.
Oh, I actually saw another really good idea. It's called the Penny Challenge. Have you seen it?
I have, and I've done it.
Have you?
Yes, I did it last year. I finished with
and it worked.
The 670 odd pounds that you get starting with. So the Penny Challenge works by you save 1p on the first day of the year, 2p on the second day of the year, £3.65 on the 365th day of the year. So over the course of the year, it starts being really cheap. You don't really notice it, but I have to say in December it gets slightly more painful because you're saving sort of £90-ish that month, a bit more than that really. So what I like doing is, so there's also the reverse penny challenge, so you can start saving £3.65 on day one and it goes down to 1p. Or what I've done this year is, rather than have it gradually go up, I've just worked out what the penny challenge would give me divided by 365. And I think it's about £1.73 a day. That's what it actually works out as. So therefore, it's £1.73 each day. It's not going to change. So that's what I'm doing. And it's a great way of saving because I don't notice necessarily £1.73 going out of my account. It's less than a coffee. It could be this. But I know that it's savings. It's not an expense. So it's a good thing to do. And if I do need to dip into that pot, I can do. But it's just a great way of saving money sort of automatically.
I really like the reverse challenge. I like that. Oh,
But
Yeah,
January's
no,
often a longer month for a lot of people who get paid early in December.
there's
So
like-
it's harder to do the reverse challenge.
It is. There's like 790 days between payday in January, isn't there? It takes ages. No, that's a really good idea. And like you say, if we think about it now, we can prep ourselves for next year. And then in 2021, there will not be a Blue Monday.
Oh, hopefully.
There's going to be a Happy Monday.
Oh, you'd hope so, yes.
Well,
You can celebrate on that Monday next year.
Exactly. And also this year, we were talking about it earlier, it's leap year.
It is.
So there could be a lot of women saving for a ring for their special someone.
It could be. You never know.
Who knows? Who knows?
2 months.
But Felix, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
If there's any updates or if anybody's got any questions, how can they get in contact?
So they could email me or find me on Facebook. So my email is felix@miltonpj.net. They can find me on Facebook with Finance with Felix and contact me there, and I should be able to respond. So any sort of financial questions, and if there's something you'd like me to discuss on the show next month, perhaps, let me know in advance, and I'll try and broach it on the show and potentially speak to you then as well. So we'll try and answer your financial questions.
That'll be great. And what we'll do is we'll upload the video again onto the Facebook page again later on. Even though I'm completely tongue-tied today, I don't know what's wrong with me. I think it's Wednesday, that's all it is. But we can upload the video, and then people can watch it and recap, because sometimes we throw out a lot of information at them, so they can go back and read it and re-listen and revisit, and that's always a good thing.
Yes.
But thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you for having me. Me too.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.